What's happening, boys? Are we all good?
Oh, even better after that slick intro.
Yeah, slick intro. If you've just seen some boobs and some Hearts players in a montage of either or, then we managed to find a film that was suitable for this week's intro. So thanks to whatever film provided us with. Oh well.
Feel free to write in any
suggestions.
Is points of view still a thing? You can write into Terry Wogan, even though I know he's did that, but they'll have replaced him with someone else. Like, you can write in and complain.
Oh no, we want suggestions.
All right.
Keep them clean, above board. But, well, we've won the league before September, so we'll reflect on our league victory. We'll talk about what we're going to do next season. If it's were we happy with just winning the league, or were we upset that we didn't win the treble? We'll go through all of it. It's an international week as well, so Tam and your pals, dust off your timbies, get the old kilt dusted off. I'm sure you'll be Hugh, Finlay, Angus. You'll be absolutely loving it. You can sing Do a Dear till you all get wee hard-ons.
That's it, mate. That's the excitement for the season is well and truly kicking in. I don't even know who they're playing, to be honest.
Liar. I heard you talking about it on Saturday. Anyway, Tam, what's been happening?
Not much of it. No, it's just obviously met a couple of you boys at the game yesterday. Kev was sick of the sight of me by the end of the 90 minutes. My chat anyway, he got seats.
All that happens at Livy is every 13 seconds you have to get up to let someone out your goal to go for a pee. That's all that happens. It's just constant. It's just up, down, up, down, up, down. And that's no just sitting beside you. That's just
surprisingly, I only went once.
Twice. You went twice. You were also drinking Celtic drinks in the Livian. Is that a new thing? Is that one of your hipster things that you do? Is it another one of these things you hide for the boys?
I've not heard about this. What's going on?
It's just Guinness, mate. Just obviously the first thing Corbett said as he seen me is, "Why are you drinking Celtic drinks?"
Well, why are you drinking the PC way, and it definitely never said that PC.
You didn't say it that way, but I wasn't repeating it.
That's unacceptable behaviour. Unacceptable. Kev, what's been happening?
Not a great deal, mate. Glad to have made the match yesterday. Unfortunately, I was on night shift, but it was a quiet one, but meant I could at least attend yesterday's game, catch up with Tam. Wanted to punch his face in, but anyway, I held back. Had I had the same amount of drink as what Tam had yesterday, there's a good chance it might have happened, because he's a miserable bastard, and I thought I was miserable. But there you go.
Well, at least we broke our voodoo, Kev. We were next to each other at the football and seen Hearts win.
Exactly, mate. I was going to say it, and then I thought, I'll just keep that one in my back pocket just in case you try and bring it up at some point in the future.
No, we've got a proper Hearts manager. We don't have to worry about superstitions anymore. We can just.
Is that right? Are you still not using a green pen and wearing 3 jackets to the football?
No, I'm not even writing notes down anymore because I'm so certain that we're winning everything. The League Cup's great. No one wants to win that. Ando, what's been happening?
Not much, man. Good to see you again after a week's hiatus. After you've left me with Tam on the last one. So apologies to everybody that listened for that one, because it was probably total shite. But Kev, I need to ask you, when you were talking about Tam being miserable just a minute ago, is that because he's miserable in the sense that he'll not put his hand in his pocket to buy a round, or just because he was death and destruction about Hearts?
It was definitely the latter. I didn't see him put his hand in his pocket. I did see him, however, use an X. This is my story podcast members' debit card at the bar.
Fucking hell. Really?
He was doing that thing. He's like, "Round, do you want something?" Says to everybody in the bar.
He's never met in his life before.
The chance bank card.
Hell. I thought as much. Right, cool. Cheers for that. But yes, I'm all good. Delighted.
Also, like Tam found Jesus as well. That was like cool that he showed up to the game with trendy Jesus, which was quite strange.
Is this Fraser Marshall?
Yeah.
Yes, fine.
Is it? Oh no, wait. Right, honourable mention to Fraser Marshall. If you do listen to this, there's only two people it could have been, and he has to be in first place for trendy Jesus.
Austin McPhee was at the Aston Villa game, so he couldn't make it. So I got Fraser instead.
I actually thought he looked more like the. You ever seen in Monty? We were talking about earlier about Monty Python Life of Brian, the wee guy that lives in the hole. It's no spoke for like 40 years. That's what it looked like. That's what it looked like.
Hi, Fraser. Hope you're well.
Right. Well, welcome back to This Is My Story podcast. We will go over Livingston 1, Heart of Midlothian 2. Another late show for the Jambos. We'll talk about the game, performance. Got loads of other things to talk about. I don't know if it will be covered in the news. Kev will go through the Gorgie news. We'll talk about all that. Then obviously the next game is Ibrox. We can talk about that. We'll just have a mini stock of how the opening four games of the season have panned out. Thoughts, feelings. We've signed a couple of players since last podcast. We'll talk about that. And then obviously as we record now, tomorrow is the last day of the transfer window. So any sort of ins and outs that you see happening. Sound good?
Perfect.
Sure does.
Cool. Will we start with Gorgie news, Kev?
Yeah, no problems at all. Before we get to the two new signings, I believe young Bobby McCluckey went out to Hamilton on, I think it was Thursday or Friday. He's gone out there for a season loan. My understanding is that he's actually one of the slightly more promising prospects in the B team. So from that point of view, giving him some senior experience. Just unfortunately, it's at Hamilton, who don't even play in Hamilton. But anyway, hopefully he'll get some experience over there. And then, of course, the big news on Friday was the signing of the Brazilian Agu, who has signed a 4-year deal coming in from the Portuguese club Santa Clara. I believe that he helped them get promoted back in 23-24 season. However, last season went out on loan to a club called, and apologies if I absolutely butcher this team, there's a good chance I will do, Alavercha, but got them promoted into the Liga, or the top league in Portugal as well. And by all accounts, from some of his touches yesterday and the fact that he actually had a shot on goal from about 20-25 yards that Corbett nearly punched his own man. It was definitely looks like a promising signing from that point of view. Rumour of varying values upwards to roughly about €2 million. But of course, the club have came out with their usual statement of it's an undisclosed fee, which is a regular one. And then today, the announcement or the signing of Alexander Schwololu. I don't know how to say his surname. If you want to have a pop at that, Ian. In fact, actually, Tam, what's his surname?
I'm not. You're not asking me to swallow, Kev. You're not asking me to swallow.
But he signed a
joke. He said that about 40 times on Saturday.
I've asked a guy that lives in Germany, and even he doesn't know how to say it, so don't worry about it.
Oh, okay, right. Well, believe me, I wasn't going to worry about it anyway, Ando. But he signed a 2-year deal. Comes with what appears to be some decent experience. Over 200 games in the Bundesliga, playing for clubs like Hertha Berlin, Union Berlin, and Schalke. Although I think over the last couple of seasons, maybe not played as much as he would like to. So chance to come out of this and play for a league-winning squad is up there as he's probably the best things he's ever done in his career.
Easy.
As I say, the only other thing that was announced today is for the slightly older listeners out there. Unfortunate news that Jimmy Bone, who helped John Robertson probably come to be the player that he was, is unfortunately not in the greatest of health. There was a couple of rumours going about that he'd actually lost his fight, but by all accounts, from what I read just before we came on air, is that the right thing? Is that he's actually just in a bad way, but fighting the good fight as much as he possibly can. So to Jimmy and his family, we do hope he we hope he pulls through and gets back to full fitness and health. And from that point of view, I think it's probably echoed by, Corbett, you would have possibly seen him at the end of his career with a club. But from my point of view, yeah, one of the sort of first names that are first people I can remember watching alongside Robertson as that sort of big target man, if you want to look at it that way, with Robertson picking up any of the loose ends, the knock-ons and such like, and it was a fairly formidable partnership up front. So all the best to him and hope he pulls through.
Yep, same. All the best to his family. I hope that he's okay. And like you said, I think Jimmy Bone, and then obviously on to Sandy Clark later in his career.
Right.
Definitely listen to Robbo loads of times talk about the influence those boys had in his career. So hopefully he pulls through, and all the best to him and his family. Right, Tam, we'll start with the what are we calling him, Agu? Is that what we're saying his name? Is that Agu?
I think it was Agu, but
sure.
Close enough. Yeah.
Well, as you. So there we go. The first sort of signing of intent from a Jamestown perspective. £1.7 million, I believe, is the fee, rising to £2 million with appearances and the likes. Club record fee, I believe it's a Scottish record fee for sides outside of Celtic and Rangers. A real statement of intent for you? Is it spell the sort of pave the way for the future of what we can come to expect over the coming seasons?
It's probably the first of these 10, 11 signings that we've had this summer, which looks like he's just at our level, if not above that level already coming in. And it just shows that if you want to get that sort of player, you put your money on it into it. So it's good to hear. And you're kind of looking at that 10 million Tony Bloom put in at the start of the summer there and wonder where it was going to. But if you're putting in €2 million to one player alone, it just shows that we believe that he is, well, the analytics believe that he is of that caliber that's going to make us quite a bit of money going forward. So it's really good. And on the short showing on Saturday, I was pretty happy. He was looks head and shoulders above the midfielders we've got in an attacking sense, and just a player that we don't have off that sort of ilk in the midfield as well. So really good.
Ando, I believe Jamestown pushed that he was too good a player to miss the opportunity to sign. So it dispels loads of stuff that we've been moaned from Hearts in the past about being skinflints, cheapskates, etc. What's your thoughts on the signing?
Well, arrow up on the whole thing. I think it's ideal, and excuse me. I'm glad you said that bit about how too good an opportunity to miss, because if we think about previous entourage or days gone by, whatever you want to say, like this kind of thing would never ever have been spotted, and the fact that we're able to sort of seize it, capitalize on it, and only the fullness of time will tell us whether it was the right thing or not. But like, if I'm being brutally honest, the Jamestown analytics thing, I'm fully bought into it. I'm fully behind it. It hasn't really sort of yielded any negative results yet. So I think this could be, and let's keep the fingers crossed here and not be daft about it. This, hopefully, if the guy comes in, plays well, this could be the first big one that could make us significant money if he comes in and does what is promised on the tin, so to speak. So I'm fully bought into it. We've got the money to spare. Seems like a good roll of the dice.
Says a lot that how buzzing McInnes is about him as well. I don't know if you noticed after his post-match interview where he was just saying he doesn't have a fault, couldn't miss out on him, and he just seems genuinely excited, which is class, to be honest.
Yeah, so the folk that listen that were at the Federation meeting on Thursday night will have known that it was a Q&A session with Derek McInnes. I won't go into the ins and outs of what was said because it was part of the deal or whatever, but it's fair to say that, you know, a box-to-box midfielder is the sort of key ingredient when the manager thinks of sort of the best Hearts teams that he remembers, played against, managed against, was having a box-to-box midfielder that can tip in goals but can create goals, and it's just that sort of player in the engine room. And Kev, on Saturday, I hope it's not lost on anybody. I know Braga hits the post and it's an absolute sitter, but that was a midfielder going past the strikers to go one-on-one with the goalkeeper. And although it was, it didn't result in a goal, it's something that I know it sounds so simplistic, and there'll be other teams that if they listen to the podcast, they'll think, that's standard football, but that genuinely, that's not Benny, it's not Devlin, it's not McEntee, it wasn't Don Cowie, it wasn't any of the midfielders that we've had in the middle of the park for ages. So it looks like it could be an absolute gem.
Yeah, and everybody, or a lot of people will sort of talk about that particular run. Great ball in for Shankland. The pass that Shankland makes, it's weighted exactly how he would want it. I think, again, for all that, Livy have taken an absolute pounding over the years in regards to their quality of their pitch. I thought that pitch yesterday looked a hell of a lot better than it ever has. It's an upgrade by 10 times the old pitch that they did have. I do wonder if he maybe wouldn't have lost his feet, or from that point of view, for that particular opportunity. But there's other parts to his game. There was a number of times, even after that he found pockets of space. It's something that we've not had in a midfielder for a long, long time. A couple of times you actually seen guys like Devlin knocked it back to Finlay, knocked it to Kent, whoever it would be, and he's coming into little pockets of space. Now, he wasn't found with passes at that point. However, he only came in on Friday. So if that's his first game and he's making and finding those particular pockets of space after 3-4 weeks of training, bounce games, just even wee games that will always happen at the end of any training sessions, to get that sort of telepathy element around how he plays can only be a benefit. And going back to what you said about the fact that this is an opportunity that was too good to miss. I think the club buy-in as well as the club selling both seen that as a particular potential, because there's not something like a 20 or 30% sell-on fee as well. So they must see something in him that he can actually even go beyond us. So it is that start of the Jamestown analytics of bringing players in at a particular level, put them in the shop window to an extent, and then selling them on wherever he may end up and making a profit and using that profit to buy players of that same ilk.
The thing that I liked the most was, other than him having a shot, but like you said, he comes in on Friday. On Saturday, he was berating players, he was shouting at them, he was giving them stick, he was demanding the ball, he was pointing to where people should be, and I thought it was like played 30 minutes or whatever it was at the end of a game type thing. But the signs are there that he looks like a real asset for our team. I've said before that your Bennies and Devlins, and McEntee to a certain extent, they're great at disrupting, winning second balls, getting the ball back. Where they lack and where they break down is driving the team forward. So we've tried having Devlin further up the park so that we can go a bit more direct and have him winning balls in the final third, passing them on to other people. But you see that everything good that came from us in the second half on Saturday comes from us being direct and being aggressive and being in the final third. with intent, and you just don't get that intent with Benny and Devlin. There was times as well, it was after he'd had his pop for 20 yards, Benny was in a very similar position, 20 yards out, and he looked absolutely flapping. He would have gave it to anybody not to have a shot. So it was good to see, encouraging. And again, well done to the club. It's weird that it's not picked up any. I thought it'd be more press than what it's got. You know, a team outside Celtic and Rangers spending £2 million on a football player. It's kind of big news. I'm like that he's went under the radar. But yeah, it's pretty good. A real statement of intent. Hopefully we get more to come from that. Goalkeeper, Tam, I'm just putting out there now, having seen the replay and rewatched the game back, I'm as less critical of Xander Clark for the goal than I was at the game.
Oh, really? I'm still maybe going with this, what Kev was saying about me being negative yesterday. I'm still pretty much, I think he should do better. But I get it. He's kind of blindsided by it. But for me, if this guy is coming in with 200 games in the Bundesliga, I think he should be going straight in, to be honest.
No, he's not going to go straight in. He's not. I don't think so. He's there. He's there to play backup, and because Ryan Fulton's obviously injured, and the young guy's not going to play in goals. But I look at it. Xander Clark would be disappointed, and I don't think he's done amazing. But actually, there's a long list of things that are wrong with that goal. Before I get to Xander Clark shouldn't be beat at his near post. He doesn't cover himself in glory. He doesn't get a hall pass. I'm not saying that he's exempt from anything. But Milne, who had his worst game in a Hearts jersey on Saturday, sells the jerseys. I don't know what Stuart Finley's doing in terms of jockeying the boy all the way until he shoots. That obviously goes for people's legs and then goes in. But there's a lot of negatives in there from a defensive point of view. Even to the phases of play that builds up to the nutmeg on Milne, sloppy, and we'll talk about it when we do the review of the game. But just the night and day from the first half to the second half. Forget shapes, forget shapes and formations and all that stuff. You're not aggressive if you don't have tempo, if you don't have intent. Then what you get is the first half, and that's how they get the goal. I think we were too passive. We're too happy we're maybe too concerned with Livingston and their threat. And then as soon as we kind of focused on being us and doing us, Livingston weren't in the game in the second half. It could have been any goal. It could have been any scoreline if we'd been a bit more clinical in the end. But be interesting to see what does happen with the goalkeeper. Craig Gordon's obviously further away from being back than anticipated. I believe Xander Clark will start for Scotland. I can't see any of the other guys getting in front of him, given he's the only one playing regular football. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But again, I'll go back to he's played every game in the League Cup, did they? They
Fulton played a couple. Dumbarton and Stirling Albion.
But the point of our percentage wins, we win games when Xander Clarkson goals for Hearts. Yeah, we concede goals as well, but we do win games. So I'll give them a bit of a free pass for Saturday. Right. Anything else? Any other news kicking a bit? What do we think in terms of transfers in or out? We've got to start seeing some people leave, surely.
Yeah, I think Musa and Vargas are pretty much gone, aren't they? One to Spain, one to Portugal. Well, Musa to Portugal, Vargas to Spain, which is actually a Moroccan team that play in the Spanish league, apparently. But they'll be gone, you would assume, by the end of the window.
Where did Musa go?
He's not actually gone yet, but the rumour is he's going to Portugal somewhere.
I didn't even know Portugal had chippies. I never knew they had chippies in Portugal. You go play wide left for the chippy 11 and the Algarve.
The peri supper.
What racist?
How?
That was Tam. That was Tam left wing softy just dropping in horrible racism into the podcast. I'm so sorry. So sorry for anybody from Portugal.
I'm pretty sure that Peri Peri's South African, not Portugal. So you've made a massive, massive sweeping statement there, Tam, and you really need to have a word with yourself.
I don't know if we should end the pod now. I don't know if it's worth it.
Tam, you cancel yourself.
Cancel.
Cancel yourself and get yourself up the road.
Nice.
Just put a statement out saying that you're really sorry. That you're going to take time to reflect or whatever. Do what everybody else does.
A screenshot of my notes app, and that's it. Cool.
Yeah. I'm actually you looking into the distance. Really sorry. Really sorry. Anybody else you reckon? I think people were talking about. Obviously, we've spent the money on the man for Brazil because Devlin and Benny aren't going to sign contract extensions. Well, I say aren't going to sign. I don't know if Benny was offered one, but it looks like there's potential that both of them, this will be the last season for Hearts. Again, I'm at a point I wouldn't be sad to see any of the players go. I think that we need to now start clearing the decks. We need a bit of ruthlessness because we can't carry the squad that we have. And there will come a point, Kev, where I kind of get it just now that the manager maybe potentially doesn't fully trust all the new boys in terms of the league and what's expected, and every second touch is a challenge type thing, but can't keep ignoring the facts that we are a significantly better side when the new boys come on or come in, if you know what I mean. So there's going to have to be a sort of clearing of the decks soon.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised that. I mean, everybody's heard various rumours and such like in regards to the various players. You would think, given that Khartoum's we've not been actually seen in a Hearts shirt this season. I think he might have been on the bench for one of the League Cup games. But you would think that he's maybe looking at other opportunities. You would maybe say the same about Neuenhoff, Devlin, Benny, as you've already said. You know, these are players that, yes, they have done a job, but maybe time to move them on and as you rightly say, clear the decks. No doubt there's a number of others as well. And if they don't go in this particular window, then I would expect that they would be released or would be looking at getting them away in January.
Yeah, I would think so. It'll be interesting. I don't think we'll do any more business. I don't think there'll be any incoming. I think I would still like a right back, to be fair, but I don't think we'll do it. I think between now and the end of the day tomorrow, I think we're more likely just to see people leave.
Yeah, and it's been what we've got to remember is it's been a very, very positive transfer window for the club. You know, what we looked at 10, 11 players coming in, and of those 10 or 11 players that have came in, each of them have brought something to the various different games that they've been involved in. If it's not been a goal, it's been setting up goals, or at least even with the very short game time that as you had yesterday, he still showed that there's a huge amount of potential in him. So yeah, it's definitely positive.
None of them are hated yet.
Well, that was what you were saying in the chat, Ando. Let's just remember that.
But that's just my rhetoric. You know that. That's just banter.
Yeah, 100%.
So.
The other thing as well, without being too sensible for a Talking Shite podcast, is watch Brighton sell player after player to Chelsea and have the replacement there ready to step in, and that's where I think we'll be. So there may be folk looking at, you know, Steinbinder potentially not playing enough games, or, you know, someone in Khartoum not playing games, Magnuson not playing. They'll probably stay there until next season, you know. So if Azure comes in now, does brilliant from now to the end of the season, do the Penrice thing, try and sell him in the summer for big money, and then Magnuson comes in, does the same bit like Penrice and then Harry Milne. That's the whole point of it, is to have those people in the background there and ready to go. So I don't think we'll see loads and loads of people leave. I think you'll be more likely to see the old heads, like the sort of the historic players that have been at the club for a bit. Maybe see some of them eventually move between now and the end of the transfer window in January. You kind of see a bit of a clearing of the decks of the old the old guard, so to speak. Right.
Just a quick question for you, Corbett, and anybody else who wants to. Would you think it's a good move to put Wilson out on loan, either under an actual full season, half-season loan, or through one of the actual agreements with St Johnstone, who have just looks like they've just sold Mackenzie Kirk for decent
Short
money?
answer, yes.
Yeah, I'm behind that because I think that would have given him the chance to, get that sort of experience within a lower league, slightly toughen him up to an extent, give him a little bit of a chance to also show what he can do at various levels. Don't know what you're thinking. Thoughts are, Corbett?
I can see the merit in it 100%, but I don't think they will. I think they'll keep him around the first team. I think if you look at it from a Lennon Miller sell for big bucks potential money type thing, by sending him out on loan, you've almost earmarked him as he's not good enough. I get the thinking, but hanging around the club, learning, playing small-sided games beside Shankland every day, playing beside Braga, picking up those sort of habits, those parts of the park to pick up on, coming on at home when you're a couple of goals up and you can go and influence a game. I think he'll get a better work experience with us now, but I get it, I understand, and I wouldn't be against it if it came up. I still think it's he still looks too lightweight, still makes the wrong runs. He also just doesn't look sharp in terms of, he's not slow, but he does come across his movements are quite slow in terms of a striker has to be deliberate in everything that he does. His touch got to be deliberate, his movements got to be deliberate. He's still at that age where I think he's not selfish enough. I've seen that a couple of times where he's had the opportunity to shoot and he's tried to play a pass. He needs that clinical sort of edge, and I think that staying with Shankland and Braga and Elton and Kizarides and these guys will help him more than gone playing with the jobbers at St Johnstone, for example. But
Now that you've said that, excuse me, I do tend to kind of agree. But I'm not even sure what's the age difference between the two of them. James Wilson will be a year, maybe
18.
two younger.
Yeah, 18.
Lennon Miller.
Yeah.
But
I think it's just more about, I think that the club, anybody homegrown talent in the team, he's the one I think the club probably would think they can get big money for. Yeah. So they'll want him to be there, even if he only plays 10 games this season, a few appearances off the bench, but ticks over with a few goals. He's still adding goals to his game. It's going to keep him in that bit there, with the opportunity or potential to be sold.
As long as he's happy with that, then cool.
I think he would be. Right. Let's talk the game then. Let's talk Saturday. Was there anything pre-game that jumped off the sheet from a starting 11 perspective, Tam?
Probably saying this with a bit of recency bias, but you would have liked to have seen a bit more width in the side with like Kizarides coming in for the start. But to be honest with you, when we were in the pub and the team came out, it was more like, why is McIntyre right back again? But again, there's no other option than that. But overall, I suppose it was just good to have Braga starting as he hasn't the last few weeks, and we were all calling for that. But yeah, it's one of those things. We don't have a set starting 11 just yet, and I think it's going to take a bit of time with the size of the squad to have a consistent same 11 going out week in, week out.
I think loads of people said the same thing. My phone is red hot right now with and this is something I'll talk about in a minute. The Hearts fans that seem absolutely desperate for McInnes to fail, Hearts to fail, which blows my mind. Messaging me Bibles constant about basically just how everything's wrong and blah 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 blah, etc. I understood Adam Forrester. If he'd started, we'd all be like, why the fuck are we playing Adam Forrester? Right? We've all said that for ages. And actually, when you watch the game, McEntee played right wing back first half, and then obviously played right back second half. McEntee won every single header that came down that side of the park, especially in the second half, when they made their substitutions to try and target that side, and he nullified every single person they brought on at that side of the park. And Adam Forrester wouldn't have won those headers. So I'm not saying that justifies what we're doing, but that I could understand from a Livingston perspective. They played 4 up front, or they had a front 4. They were obviously looking for the sort of stretch the game, use width, but be direct. You know, when you play Livingston, it's going to be headers, second balls, competing for all that type of stuff. And I wasn't completely against McEntee playing there. I think that everybody that's played there, as much as I prefer him in the middle of the park, he's done a good job there. He looks more convincing than the actual right back that we signed to play there, Borkovic, who hasn't looked anywhere near the standard that's required. So I wasn't too upset with McEntee playing it there. Kev, what's your thoughts?
I think you're right. I think he looks much more settled playing that right back position rather than the right wing back position. And he also looks a lot more confident when he does actually have somebody in front of him. So whether that be a Kizaridis, a Karjota, whoever fills that particular, let's class it, right wing position, he seems to be a lot more confident as an actual individual, as a player. The one thing, and this is always going to be the case with anybody who has not done their trade as a right back, is that bit of, you know, getting forward and then back and forward and back, always having that, you know, that sort of what you could class effectively as a right foot on the touchline, to go up and down. If you think back to the days of half decent right backs that we've had, Mikey Smith's the one that always pops into your head. He was up and down that, you know, up and down that line every single game. We commented on him being a 7 out of 10 every single week because he'd done what a right back would have to do. And that's just the one thing that, you know, McEntee doesn't actually have, but that's because he's a centre mid. But he has the game and he has the brain to be able to play in that particular position as a right back. And I personally think he's better as a right back than a right wing back, but everybody will have their own opinion on that.
Yeah, I think, listen, the thing that jumps off the page for me, I've said it before, I'm loving the fact that I went to the game on Saturday. I didn't even know who was starting for Hearts until I got into the stadium. I couldn't care less what the starting 11 is, because I trust the manager. I trust that he'll have seen something or he wants to do something. What jumps off the page is something that if I was going to be concerned about anything was, again, it was the same when we started against Motherwell, the same when we started against St Mirren, and it was the same against Livingston again on Saturday. The whole upping at them, getting their face. I know that potentially what he's looking to do that at Tynecastle, but we didn't when we played Motherwell. It doesn't matter what shape, style, anything like that you play. If you don't play with aggression, if you don't play with tempo, if you're not purposeful, direct, then what you get is wishy-washy, which is exactly what we had on Saturday. That was the only thing that jumped off the pages that was missing. I don't think it was anything to do with the shape. I think that actually Braga gets sent clean through by Shankland in a brilliant move. And again, I'll put it to the group in a second because I don't want to hammer him because he scored loads and loads of goals. But Braga's not an instinctive finisher. He is an instinctive finisher, but he's not a natural finisher. You look at that one and the one in the first half, he's sent clean through by Shankland. He tries to curve the ball in with the inside of his foot to the far post when it's a toe bang, or the outside of the right foot to the bottom corner type thing. And it was like we're nitpicking because he saves the game for us and he's brilliant. He's everything that we need. But a goal, like a natural finisher, I don't think that he is. And then it's compounded with his with his attempt that hits the post. And I'll go back to the Motherwell game. The obviously scores both the goals, gets you back in. Again, the one when he's puts it under the keeper should save it, and then he does what all good strikers do, he reacts to the keeper fumbling it. But actually, if he was a natural finisher, we win 4-3 because he's got the easier chances, the one where he's played through with the goalkeeper and he tries to dink the keeper when he literally just has to toe bang it into the bottom corner. But he tries to do the dink, and it was the same. It was the same on Saturday with the finish. He's tried to bend it away for the keeper when he should be bending it round the keeper. Easier than it is who scored fucking 0 Premiership goals in my striking career. But that was like, it was just that those type of movements were few and far between in the first half, and then obviously Livy score and we panic. Not panic, but we just stop trying to do anything, and Livingston obviously grow in confidence a little bit in the game and start to create half chances. But so that was the thing that was the most annoying for me in the first half, with just that aggression, purposefulness, tempo, and that's something that needs to be sorted, Dan. That needs to be fixed.
Yeah, the sort of last 3 weeks in a row, 3 games in a row, it's kind of like we're too wary of the opposition. Whereas I'd prefer us to just go and play our own sort of game and just go for it. Because you see in the second half, obviously, Casaridis came on, but his intent, he changed the game. Everything was kind of going through him. He was showing, he was taking players on. He was being aggressive, exactly what you said about getting up and at them. And then that built around everyone else. So I would just like to see us really just go and put our front foot on it for the outset and try and play our game, and not worry about, say, a Livingston or Motherwell, something like that. But again, as you say, it's probably something that McInnes has always kind of done, because he knows the league, he knows what the teams are about. But there was times in that first half we were just looking at the same football we've seen under Nielsen or Critchley or something like that. It was very much the ball was just getting passed between centre half, centre mids, and nothing was going forward. So I would like to see that change from the start.
Yeah, and again, not to go back to the Federation conversation on Thursday, but the manager identified that, and we've all said that, we've sat in this podcast for years saying that the sideways, safe, passing, don't take risks, it's ingrained in some of these players, and you see that on Saturday. You're looking at Benny and Devlin doing great and winning the ball back, and instantly fire it off to Halkett, fire it back to Kent, fire it back to Findlay, because they've done their job. It's like safe, and then Findlay and Kent and Halkett will pass it back and forth around each other, fire it out to Milne, fire it back to McEntee, because they're looking for that option to go and hit someone, and they're just too scared to play forward. So
just on that point that Corbish just made there now around the passing and the difference between the first half and the second half. I had a look at the actual stats from yesterday's game. There was 260 passes, Hearts made 260 passes, of which 214 were successful in the first half. And then, as you've rightly already mentioned, Tam, you go and then look at the second half, 200 passes. And in that 200 passes, only 148 of them were actually successful. Now, that says to me that actually what they're trying to do, as between the first half and the second half, is make more direct passes, more passes that are going to be clinical in regards to, an opportunity, or at least moving forward as a team. And that's the big thing, as far as I'm concerned. And the difference between the first half and the second half is chalk and cheese. There's so much more in it in the second half, because it was forward passes. It was finding, even on a couple of occasions, Devlin did play it to Benny, but Benny knew perfectly well, get it out to Carjota or get it out to Caridis, and that was the gameplay. Quite clearly, that's what had been spoken about at halftime. That's what we need to do. We've not shown any of that directness in the first half. And I don't think we even had a shot on target in the first half. And we've called it a number of times. You know, football's a simple game. You don't shoot, you don't score. If you don't score, you don't win football matches. Our first half performance yesterday showed quite clearly that we were not wanting to win that game. But the second half performance was totally different. Much more direct, much more up-tempo, shutting people down, winning the ball back in the midfield and getting it back out wide. And I don't think there was a great deal of width on the first half yesterday, but I was too busy telling Tam to shut the up.
That was the stuff that compounds what we're saying about the first half. Is like, if you actually look at the sequence of the second half, at the start of the second half, we didn't even settle into a shape. So again, the argument about shape and all that type of stuff, for me, it had nothing to do. We equalised. It's nothing to do with shape, because we hadn't even got into shape yet for the start of the second half. What changed was that we went direct. As soon as we got the ball, Kizarides was told, get to the byline, and he took his man on every single time he got the ball. He got the ball first, took his man on, got to the byline and then shot. Then second time, gets the ball, gets to the byline, shoots, the keeper saves it. Then we get the corner, pass to him, he takes his man on, drives to the byline, cuts it back, and we score. Like, that was, all of that happened from kickoff. Livingston never got out of their half from kickoff. We scored on 47 minutes. The opening 2 minutes of the first half were basically just give the ball or get the ball to Kizarides, and we just went straight at them. And again, that was the missing ingredient for the first half, is being brave, being aggressive, got on the front foot, and doing all the things that we've seen in glimpses from Derek McInnes from the start and his teams about get up and at them. And that's what I'm saying about the older, like the old guard. They've got to get on board very quickly as to how the game and how the manager wants to play, and try and get this sort of negative possession for possession's sake out of their minds, and almost get to the point where it's, you know, not basketball, football, but we've been at our best when it's went end to end. You know, when it's been, you know, you attack, we'll overcommit, you overcommit. It's when we're at our best, and that was the thing on Saturday. Saying to everybody around about you heard me say about 1,000 times, it doesn't matter about the shape. When you're playing this wishy-washy against Livingston, you're not going to win the battle. You need to be direct. And as soon as we flick the switch at the start of the second half, we really should have won more than we should have won by more than 2. But you take what you've got. How good is Kizarides? You know, he started against St Mirren, didn't he? Didn't really impact the game too much, but then I don't think anybody really had a positive game in Maroon. Is it a point where we have to start him? Does he start at Ibrox?
Yes.
What for me is, he seems to be a lot better when he's coming on, and then he's coming up against tired legs. Seems to provide us with a bit of extra impetus. I don't know if that means he just keeps coming off the bench, but we need to try him, because we're not having that sort of same impact for the start without having any width or that intent going forward. So probably the big pitch at Ibrox would help him as well.
Yeah. I'd imagine. Kev, my dad was doing my absolute tits in on Saturday for this because he would not shut up about Shankland, and it boils my blood. Lauren Shankland created near enough every single thing that Hearts done on Saturday, and the idea that he needs to just stand at the penalty spot and no move. That's not football. Everything that if he doesn't move, he doesn't put Braga one-on-one with the keeper. If he doesn't move, he doesn't chip the ball over for Aju to almost hang when Braga to hit the post. If he isn't moving about, he doesn't lay it off for Kizarides to score. Like, I'm getting so bored. I want Shankland to score more goals. I really do. I feel sorry for him that no chances fall for him. Like, all the half chances fall for a Braga or like a Spittle or somebody. He just doesn't nothing seems to be falling for him in terms of being able to score or goal scoring opportunities. But his all-round play it goes so unnoticed. It's outrageous the impact that he has on our team. And as much as Kizzaridis and these guys obviously get the plaudits and Braga gets the plaudits because he scores goals, Lawrence Shankland is integral to every single thing we are trying to do. I'm getting sick of people saying him, does my head in.
Aye, but and I think the majority of people know perfectly well, because of his past, maybe not last season, but the season before and the season before that, scoring 20 plus, 25 plus goals per season, there is a percentage of our support that expect him to be doing that every single year. He signed, we heard it all last year that with regards to Shankland, there was so much going on in his own personal life and life out with, in football that was having an impact. The way in which we were playing football, and him not being the focal point, or him having to drop into that number 10 spot because the rest of the players weren't actually there to benefit him, had a negative impact on his game. This season, I watched Shankland yesterday, as you rightly say, be integral to a number of different positives within. Now, how many times did we say it over the last couple of seasons? Yeah, it's great to see Shankland scoring goals, but nobody else is doing it.
Yeah.
We're now in a position where others are doing it, but they're doing it off the back of the clever little run, the chip, the little, the dink, the pass, the awareness that Shankland actually has as a footballer, not as a striker, as an actual footballer. That's where you're seeing a massive difference. And we spoke about it back before the season started, that we would like to see him, or we expect to see him scoring 20 goals, 20 plus goals again, because things are settled. We've got a proper manager. He is integral. McInnes came out and said it himself in regards to the way in which he wanted the club to play. Shankland, he was in his ear telling him, this is what I expect. This is how I see you playing in the team. I think what McInnes seen or wanted to see in Shankland is actually coming true now.
Yeah, I think what we've got now that other people are scoring goals, if Shankland was this time last season, Shankland was missing chances, and that was like the thing that was sticking in your throat, is that we were getting beat by a goal or drawing 0-0, etc., and he had gilt-edged chances that he was missing, and we were used to him putting them away. He's not getting any chances, but other people are scoring goals, and that's what was missing last season. If we'd even had a player or two players that could have dug him out a hole and actually carried some of the burden and scored a couple of goals here or there, he would have been, and we would have been, in a much, much healthier position in the league than the one that we fit, than where we finished. Now, don't get me wrong, there's aspects of his game where, I'm worried that we're not creating chances for him. Kizzaridis one, for example, when he gets to the byline and he tries to toe poke it and he just toe pokes it wide, Shankland is front post, perfect for a cutback, doesn't do it. The move that leads to Braga going through and Braga volleys into the side net, Shankland is front post with the exact same opportunity as what Braga scored this header from. And it's those wee bits that, he's chipping the ball over the top to go one-on-one with the keeper. He's the one that chipped it over the top for Braga to run one-on-one with the keeper. He's the one that lays it off for Kizzaridis on the edge of the box. No one's doing that for him. And the thing I'm hoping that we see click soon is those wee combinations that, like, Barry Mackay and Ginnelly, and Humphreys, all these guys that seem to just click with Shankland, but to create the chances for Shankland. That's the only part of what we're doing that I've yet to see click, is creating clear-cut chances from open play for Shankland.
And Agu might just be that player.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping.
Well, as I said earlier on, he found pockets of space yesterday. Give it a bit of time for him to actually have that understanding with the players round about him. They'll start to understand where he's going to be, what kind of positions he's looking to get, because he's got space. Turn. I don't know if you noticed yesterday, there was one opportunity or the one chance in the second half. I think he laid it out to Casaredas when he went to the left-hand side. He was in acres of space and he took the ball so cleanly on his left foot and then drove forward with his right. That to me is something we've not had for a long, long time. And if we can continue to grow in that, or he can continue to grow within our league in such a way, then it will make money for us as well. It's just a shame that we're going to have to sell him for £15 million or whatever. But, if that's what has to happen, that's what has to happen.
Add an extra zero, Kev.
Easy.
Tom, were you still pissed for yesterday?
Yes.
So it's Celtic drinks, mate. It's going to see. One thing I'd say, but obviously we've sung his praises from the start. Harry Milne's been absolutely superb for Hearts since he come in. Yesterday was probably the worst game that he's had. I don't know if he just never really recovered from the goal, but he seemed spooked. I'm hoping it was just, obviously not every player's going to go through the whole league campaign and have game after game after game where he's top tier, but he did struggle yesterday, didn't he?
I thought he looked a bit. I know it's ridiculous to say this at this time of year, but he looked a bit tired. I don't know if it's just that they've played the quite an intense pre-season and quite intensive games so far. It's no different to any other season, but given the level that he's come from, I don't know if it's just maybe been. I don't know. That's my instant read on it. He's just looked tired.
Remember, he picked up an injury at Dundee United at Tannadice 2-3 weeks ago. That might just be something that's also just no letting him push on. But yes, I agree. He did look. So did Finlay. I thought yesterday.
Yep.
That left-hand side didn't look as solid as they have done.
Yeah, I didn't actually think Finlay had a very good game versus Motherwell either. If I'm being honest with you. But again, like I said, that's a good point, Ando. I think he's sat on the bench from January to the end of the season, and then he's played pretty much every single minute of every single game. I think he actually has played every single minute, every single game. So, and it was not a criticism. And look, the good thing about him is he never stopped doing the stuff that we wanted him to do. He was having a mare, so he was still trying. He was still making tackles. He was still trying to get forward. He was still making passes. He was still trying to impact the game, even though he wasn't, as fluent best as what he has been. But
you can see what it means to him as well. Like you see what happens, obviously, as we fought back against Motherwell the previous weekend, and you see it in the if you've not seen it, go back and watch the highlights. See when the goals get scored, you could just see the absolute elation on the boy's face. It's like, I think he's just one of these guys that gets it. He knows what it means to be at Hearts, and I think so far he's loving his life. And if he's loving his life and he's putting his absolute heart and soul into absolutely everything, and he was a bit tired at the weekend, fine, I'll take that. Right, just maybe give him a lighter training session during the week or whatever. But I know you can't do that. But you know what I mean. I'm quite happy if he's knackered because he's been absolutely busting his hoop for us for the last 7 or 8 weeks or however long the season's been going for. I'll take that all day long.
Yeah,
I guess they'll have 4 or 5 days off.
Yeah, I was
away on
they will
international
do,
duty. They'll have a few days off anyway. So yeah, you're right, Ando. Could be just that opportunity for him just to, recharge. Back in possibly next Monday, Tuesday. Some of them, of course, will come in and do light sessions, I would expect. But if you're not away on international duty, but taking the time just to recover and then back for what could be an interesting trip to Ibrox in a week time, 10 days, whatever it is.
The other thing that the elephant in the room they have to talk about is the absolute desperation that some folk in our fan base have for the manager to fill. Again, I noticed today that the manager that Hearts fans were screaming out we should have got last week when they spunked a 3-0 lead has also failed again today to pick up an actual win, playing all the lovely fancy football that he has at Motherwell, but has got nothing to show for it in terms of wins on the board. Hearts are nowhere near their best. Nowhere near their best. And Rangers have went 4 games and 4 draws. Hibs have drawn again today at home. That's their no wins in their opening however many home games in the league. Celtic toiling. Aberdeen 3 wins, 3 defeats in a row, wherever it may be. But yet we are digging out results without being at our best. But yet Hearts fans don't seem to want to acknowledge where we're at. Hearts would not have won that game this time last season, being a golden. We wouldn't have done it.
Pretend like I'm an idiot, and I'm not entirely sure, because I'll be honest. Shut up, Kev. I don't pay attention to Hearts' social media other than maybe checking out their Twitter or whatever. So I assume you're talking about kickback.
I've been reading. So read some of the BBC fan comments. Apparently, considering we're top of the league, you would think that we'd no won a game this season.
I'm interested to what you said. Just to pick up on one thing you said about the manager that we should have went for. Who is that exactly?
Any foreign-sounding, fancy Nancy manager that's got absolutely fuck all credentials and achieved nothing in the game but sounds fancy. That's who we should have went for.
So, well, let's just think about Jimmy Tilleen. Aberdeen stone dead last of the league, bottom of the league, 0 points. 0 points.
Yeah, 7 defeats in a row in the league. And we're not, don't get me wrong, we're absolutely, there's loads of things that can be fixed, but the thing that Hearts fans seem to be revelling in ignoring is exactly what we've just spoke about there, is that we have cried, we've had planes flying over the stadium talking about us having no bottle. We'd have been, yesterday we wouldn't have come back and won that game. We've been 1-0 down at Livingston. I think we got beat 1-0 at Livingston last year with a pretty insipid, terrible performance at the start of the season. I think we got beat 1-0 against St Mirren. That was the final nail in Stephen Naismith's coffin last season. We got beat 2-0 at home by Motherwell at the start of last season as well, in games where at 3-0 down at Motherwell, we would have made substitutions to make sure that we didn't lose 4-0, is what we would have done. At 2-2 at Tannadice, in the dying minutes of the game, we would have settled for a 2-2 draw. We would have said, we were 1-0 up, then 2-1 down. A point here's a good result. But we didn't. We dug in and went, no, we want to win these matches. In the Motherwell game, people waxing lyrical about Motherwell as if they were Pep Guardiola's Barcelona. They spunk a 3-goal lead, and if we'd played 3 minutes longer, we would have won 4-3. If Braga had actually been able to finish, we would have won 4-3. They absolutely collapsed, their arse went, and all we had today was exactly what we did on Saturday versus Livingston. Was we upped the tempo and got aggressive with them. Motherwell were playing the ball out to John McGinn's fucking inbred brother or whatever he is with the 5 and Stephen O'Donnell or whatever at the back. They weren't Pep Guardiola's. The first half against Motherwell was terrible for both sides. They score with a deflection and the only real chance of the game. Then in the second half, we make the changes like we do here. We go gung-ho to try and get back in the game. They pop us twice and score 2 goals on the breakaway. And then we come back. When was I don't even know what the record book says. When was the last time Hearts were 3-0 down and came back and got a draw or won a game? No, I can't remember it. And there's the other thing too, that the elephant in the room that people seem to be missing is that there's no God-given right that we should just show up and beat teams. This idea that who is it on paper? All right, sound we should rock up to Almond Vale and wipe the floor with them and beat them just because because some guy on BBC fan comment or on Kickback says so. You have to go out and earn the right to win these games. And we've shown nothing but, if there's anything to stick your hat on when you want to see improvements, you look at the fact that we're undefeated. We have won games where we were behind and came back and won. We've been salvaged points when we really shouldn't have salvaged points. 3-goal deficits and you come back and get a draw. This team has got guts. So think about that. Think about what we could be like when it clicks, when we find a settled 11, when we find the right formation to get all the best players in the right positions in the right time. Think of how good we could be. Because first and foremost, we've spoke about it before. I said it to you when Critchley was here. We sugarcoat or you paper the cracks of beating St Mirren 4-0 at Tynecastle and everybody thinks it's all fine and rosy and everything's great, but actually the fundamentals, the trying hard, the don't be easy to beat, it goes as soon as we hit a bump in the road. As soon as we hit a bump in the road under Smith, as soon as we hit a bump in the road under Critchley, as soon as we hit a bump in the road versus with Robbie, we crumbled. We folded. We had absolutely no resilience. We didn't know how to get back into games. We didn't know how to get out of ruts. That's why we were boom or bust. Win 10 games in a row, cool. You get beat against Rangers and suddenly you're 6 games without a win. That's what we used to do. We're always famine our feast all the time. Now we've got a team that's got guts. I've got a team that never ever knows that it's beat, and people are moaning because we aren't playing the football that Motherwell are playing. Motherwell that haven't won a game this season. Give me peace. Stay my fucking head in, man.
We've said it all before, though, isn't it? Let's be honest. What do you want? Do you want to see good football and win absolutely hee-haw and finish 4th, 5th, 7th as we did last season and play shit football? Or do you want to see football where you're winning games and you're at the top, you're top end of the league? I know what I would choose every single day of the week.
Just acknowledge the building blocks that you see that are happening. He took over a shit show. He's inherited an absolute shit show. There's 14 players there that we've been stuck with for 2-3 seasons that do the same thing on repeat, that are used to the be safe, overly cautious, pass it side to side, backwards. He's having to break that cycle. He's then having to go in and try and break the mentality of Hearts players hated playing at Tynecastle. They cannot handle playing at Tynecastle. We had to change that mentality. So to go in and try and change that mentality to be like, stop being scared of the fan base and start learning how to engage the fan base so that they're on our side, so that they get behind you. Because that's all that they take, is they just need to see that you're on and they'll back you. That was the difference on Saturday. That's all it was Kizzery does. As soon as he got the ball, a minute into the second half, attacked the byline. That's all he did. And that's all he did. He never done that, and he toppled the ball out for a by kick. But it got everybody on the edge of their seat, got everybody back, thinking, right, cool, now we're at it. Let's see what you've got. One passage you play. So I get that people think that there's some Pep Guardiola manager out there that Jamestown could identify and can come and play this swashbuckling football that we think we want. We've laughed at John Collins, Tony Mowbray, Paul Heckingbottom, all these Hibs managers that come to Hibs and talk about the style of play, and they try to come and play nice, attractive football in a derby, and we steamroll them because they can't handle it. They can't handle the aggression. They can't handle the tempo. They can't handle the fact that we're in their face, not playing football the right way. That's what Hearts are, and that's what we're getting. That's what we're getting. I don't understand.
Other clowns that want what, frankly, we're never going to be able to get, because like that whole magic formula of what everyone wants, that's what every football team wants, right? But you have to realise that we're Hearts, and even Celtic, Rangers, whoever, right? They're not going to get that. They're just not, right? You have to realise the team you follow and the team you're watching and the environment you live in, right? It's ridiculous to think otherwise. And to answer your question, I've went back as far as I could. 1935, before they started putting the actual minutes that goals were actually scored on. I can't find us ever being 3-0 down and then not being beat or coming back to draw. Again, it's a very, very, very quick look, but 1935. If someone has the right answer, then write in and tell me I'm wrong. But I can't stand it either. If I'm honest, it's like be grateful for what you've got. What we've got is a team that's winning. Like, just make your peace with it. Just get on board.
Or just acknowledge that there's progress being made. No one. I'm not arguing that we're the finished article. We've yet to string 90 minutes together. You argue if we've even strung 45 minutes together. But a team that knows or doesn't know when it's beat is something that we've not had for a long, long time. We're so used to watching us roll over and get our bellies tickled because, big bag team have played dirty tactics or are they keeping the ball in play, etc., etc. And it's exhausting the amount of people that seem to want us to fail.
And I'm guessing when you're saying that, I'm guessing it's people talking around and saying that we keep changing that starting 11. We keep making changes to the team left, right, and centre. But what you've got to understand and what you've got to remember about like the new guys, like you said earlier on, Corbett, these guys don't really know the Scottish game yet. Kazaridas played brilliantly yesterday in that second 45 minutes. But if you take it back to, as you said earlier on about the game against St Mirren 2 weeks ago, that first 45, he was absolutely honking. People seem to forget that, right? He comes on, Kazaridas comes on yesterday. Yes, he plays a great second half. But I bet the people that were saying he should start are the same people that were saying 2 weeks ago that he wasn't good enough and he shouldn't be starting matches. It's always going to be. We're probably one of the worst fan bases for it, right? But it's just going to be.
You're absolutely right there, Kevin. Corbett said this 1,000 times before: is that Hearts fans are the biggest bunch collectively. The biggest bunch of wankers that any of us will ever meet. We're a horrible, horrible fan base.
I don't mind the. I get that there's arguments to be heard, right? Because like I said, we're not perfect, so I get it. I get that things that used to and do annoy me. Square peg, round holes, playing McEntee out of position. We brought on a £2 million midfielder and played him left wing for 5 minutes before we've made the subs or whatever. I get all of that, but we're 4 games into the season. It's a new manager with a squad bigger than any squad in the league. He's still trying to figure out how everybody plays. He's trying to protect the new guys for exactly what you've just said there. They might not be ready to play 90 minutes. So he knows that Spittle, for example, knows what he's going to get at Livy. He understands the game, the physicality. He knows that you're not going to get time on the ball to play fancy passes or take a touch facing your own goal and you get the ball took off you and they're in. I get all of that. But to not acknowledge or to just ignore the guts that the team have, that's what bugs me. To not trust the manager who has not lost a game. It's like, what are we doing? What could we possibly have done any different? Yeah, the Motherwell game sticks out because it was one of those things. But Motherwell won 3-0 last season at Ibrox, did they? Was it like 3-0, 2-0, whatever it was? They beat Rangers. St Mirren drew with Rangers last week. Like there are teams in the league at the start of the season. They're all unknown quantities, etc. Football sometimes is football. You just have to get on with it. The fact that people crying for the Motherwell manager. Imagine if Hearts were 3-0 up at Motherwell and then drew 3 each. We'd be absolutely livid. But yet everybody just ignores the fact that they totally collapsed against us, and they talk about that 15-minute spell at the start of the second half where they played brilliant football. They've got the manager that we should have had. Just daft. It's this time of year. Yeah, that's my rant to finish today. Talking about the Old Firm, how utterly garbage are Celtic and Rangers. That game of the day was fucking shocking.
I don't even know why we watched it. Don't have a dog in that fight, and then it was the most brutal thing I've ever watched, to be honest.
No, they've got
Oh,
our
that's news.
challenges are in there, aren't they?
Or what, sorry?
Our title challengers are in there. It's fair
Aye.
to say that one of the two will challenge us for the title.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It
It's a
was
good day for us in the league, to be honest. Worked out well.
result-wise. Yep. So that brings us to, obviously, after the split, our first game back after international duty. We are at Ibrox on the 13th of September. Any early thoughts or feelings?
I'm glad Martin's still in charge, put it that way. I thought he might have been away by this point. So
I don't think they were ever going to get rid of him. I mean, it would have to take something pretty bad today, I think, to get rid of him because of how much they've invested. You know, they've invested in him, his philosophy in regards to game of football. So I didn't think he would. Didn't think unless today went like real proper Pete Tong that things would have meant that he would
I don't think it matters. You like this isn't the Rangers football podcast, but you can't get rid of him. They've backed him too much. Like if you get rid of him now, bring in a new guy. He's gonna assess the squad until January. Get his own transfer window. Blah blah blah. The season's written off. They're gonna back him. And long may it continue because the guy does not have a clue. Aye.
One of my favourite things on Wednesday was when, obviously, because he's vegan or whatever, everybody was pure slaughtering him, and somebody called
Is
him.
he a vegan? Is that Tam? Oh, I didn't know that.
Somebody called him Terry Vegetables, and that was one of the funniest things I've ever heard. I was absolutely buckled. We Terry Vegetables, man. But we've got to. We can't. We have to play like we did in the second half versus them. If we play like the first half, we just play into their hands because they will shit the bed if we play wide and high and direct because they can't. Their back line is shocking. Suter and the other boy at the back look absolutely rotten, and the fact that they play zonal marking when they do corners, it should be all over us. You look at some of the goals that Bruce scored from crosses into the box. That last 10 minutes of the first half on Wednesday was honestly some of the most comical football I think I've ever watched a professional football team. The Rangers just completely gave in, and it was like, cross, did we score? Nah, right, cool. Cross it again, did we score? Aye, right, cool. Cross it again, did we score? No. It was literally like, what is happening here? What is happening? And we need to make sure that we play exactly like that. Balls into the box, turn them, play into channels, and put them on the back foot because them at the back are shocking.
And the thing is, we've got a manager now that knows that. I think, anyway. I think he'll do a number of aspects that he'll be doing over the next 10 days, 7 days, watching no doubt games like Wednesday night's game, probably today's game, a number of other games that they've been involved in this season. But that's what you get when you've got a football manager.
Well, he got a lot of praise, but he must be on holiday. But can our set piece coach come back, please? Because all we have done for the last 2 weeks with set plays, every corner is float it to the back post for Halkett or Kent or Finlay to header it back. And the idea that Harry Milne takes in swinging corners or in swinging free kicks outside the area and just floats them into the keeper's hands. If we could get our set piece coach back, that would be quite nice because I'm getting quite upset at how terrible. As a team that used to only score we started the season only scoring from corners and set plays, to now don't even look like creating a chance.
The first goal now counted as a set piece goal, maybe, kind of. More the ball in anyway, isn't it?
I don't know if it was. I don't think that was a routine. I think that was just one of those instinctive things on the park. But I'm all for it if that's the case. But yeah, this float it to the back post for somebody to header it back across goal, please. Can we mix it up just a wee bit? Right. Let's end it with some predictions. I know that we're a bit early, but we might as well go. Kev, what's your prediction for Ibrox?
At the end of the day, you really just you want a performance, of course you do, and you want a victory. I think what you will find is that I think we'll set up a lot more solid I don't know if Berkovic will be back. I know that there is chat that he will be back in training for the game. So we'll wait and see what happens in regards to that. But I would go for, at this moment in time anyway, I'd go for a 1-1 draw.
Cool. Tam?
As much as I think we've turned a corner, we've got a proper manager, I've been burned too many times going to Ibrox or playing the Old Firm or whatever. So I still think we'll get beat, unfortunately. So I think it'll be 1-0 to Rangers.
Shite bag. Ando?
Yeah, I am ashamed to know Kev and Tam at this point. I think that shite that's just come out your mouth is absolutely disgusting. I think if you've seen that Rangers team play, right, and I'm going to go on a bit of a rant here, it doesn't matter what happens in the transfer window, right? Nothing is happening to make Rangers any better between now and the time that we play them. It's just not going to happen. I think we will march into Glasgow, straight into Ibrox. We'll walk out 2, maybe 3-0 victors. End of. No questions asked. It'll be that fucking easy. I genuinely think that. I've watched a lot of them recently. They are terrible. Nothing is changing.
I've not seen any of their games.
I've seen a few.
Well, they've signed
They're
the boys
awful.
from Aberdeen, hadn't they? Boy and Mayoski.
Mayoski, aye, who
level.
couldn't have been any further away from being anywhere near it today at any point. I think right in saying the last time we won at Ibrox was in the Championship, first game of the season against the Robbie Nielsen team.
Yep. And the time before that was Scott Robinson scored the winner, I think. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going it's a Desmond. I think it'll be 2-2.
No chance.
I think it'll be
Hearts will
2-2. I'll be absolutely delighted if we're wrong. It's a real statement of intent if we go and do anything at Ibrox. I think it's a bit of a litmus test to begin with. The first one of the season so far. See how we cope. I think it's like 19, 20 games or something like that since we last beat Rangers in any capacity. So
10 quid each just to make it interesting. There we go.
Sound to me. Right, Trips. I don't know, we'll maybe podcast if something crazy happens tomorrow. But if not, we'll be back and reviewing the Rangers game as and when it happens. All right, boss?
Excellent.
Sounds good to me.
Nice one.
Right, Trips. I'll see you all later.
Catch
Catch
you
you
later
after.
on.
So,
Gargoyles.